23 first-party studios, a whole host of exclusive content on the way, and arguably the best deal in gaming right now. Xbox is on a roll, but here's why they still have a lot to prove. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you are well. Today I wanted to talk about Xbox game studios, Bethesda, why they're doing so well, but also why they still have a whole lot to prove, at least in the eyes of this Xbox fan, and I'm sure many gaming fans around the world. Now we know ever since Phil Spencer jumped on board way back in 2014 as the head of Xbox, he has made it his mission within Microsoft to make Xbox the best place to play games, no matter what sort of titles you're into. And he's done a fantastic job along with the wider Xbox team, purchasing a whole bunch of first-party studios to bolster their exclusive lineup, as well as diversifying, bringing in Bethesda and just some really talented studios to help deliver that. Obviously, the hardware is doing incredibly well. It's very powerful. They have a low-end option in the Series S, a high-end option in the Series X. We see some fantastic initiatives like Xbox Play Anywhere, cross-play, backwards compatibility, and then there's Game Pass, arguably the best deal in gaming right now, giving you access to over 100 plus quality titles and many more than that, right? Like the catalog is actually more than 400 strong across console, PC, and cloud. They're very well positioned going into this generation. Their hardware is selling out, but I want to talk about, no matter all that positive stuff aside, I want to talk about why they still have a whole lot to prove. And I think that by the end of this video, you might agree with me. Of course, if you don't, please let me know in the comments below. But here's how I feel about the current state of Xbox Game Studios in particular and Bethesda. Now, as I noted at the top of the video, Xbox Game Studios and Bethesda make up 23 first-party studios, which is a whole lot more than Xbox had just a few years ago when in 2017, 2018, before E3, they had 343 Industries, Turn 10, Rare, The Coalition, Mojang, and Xbox Game Studios Publishing. That's 6 studios. A far cry from where we are now. They then picked up the likes of Initiative, Ninja Theory, Playground, Undead Labs, and Compulsion. Shortly after that, they brought on board Obsidian and In Exile. We saw World's Edge and Double Fine shortly after that, and then came the behemoth in Bethesda. So they're doing really well on the first party front, and they have a whole lot of first party content announced, but a lot of these studios and a lot of these teams are still unproven. And I want to go through sort of the list of games that are currently announced and talk to why we're excited for them, but there still can be some hesitation around these titles, and I think it's actually totally fair. If you looked at my last video that I did, which detailed what I believe will be Xbox's roadmap for the next 3 to 4 years, you'll see that there's a bevy of content across a variety of genres coming that'll soon be day one in Game Pass, which is a fantastic deal. As we noted, I think a lot of that hesitation and speculation around these titles will sort of mitigate that sort of that feeling of what if these games don't hit. So I think we can take that into account as well. So when we look at the current roadmap, let's look ahead to 2022. We have key titles like Forza Motorsport, which is likely to land next year. Turn 10's a proven studio. I think that game is absolutely going to smash it out of the park. They've given themselves at that point what will be a 5-year dev cycle. Forza Motorsport's games usually on a 2-year dev cycle, so this soft reboot I'm sure is going to be fantastic. They're giving themselves enough time to really knock that one out of the park. Let's talk about Starfield now. Bethesda Game Studios' last release was Fallout 76, and we all know how that launch went. Obviously, the game has done well to regain and build up its following. It's one of the most popular games on Xbox Game Pass, according to Pete Hines, when he mentioned that in the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase just a few weeks ago, and it's in a fairly decent position right now. I think there are still quite a few bugs, and they're obviously building out the content. They announced a couple of DLC on the way as well, so that game has a long way to go, but it is fair to say that 76 did a whole bunch of damage to the Bethesda Game Studios name and reputation. It is now squarely on the shoulders of Todd Howard and the team there to gain back the trust of the gaming community with the release of Starfield. We know that with prior releases of Skyrim and Fallout 4, that those games released in decent states, but they were still filled with bugs. And this is a team that, for the most part, got away with them because they weren't particularly game-breaking. It wasn't until Fallout 76 that people really threw in the towel on Bethesda and the bugs that shipped with their games. So there's a whole lot of pressure with Starfield. I think a lot of people are really hopeful that this is going to be great. Obviously, the in-game trailer that they showed at the showcase just a few weeks ago was looking really strong. I think the vibes and the atmosphere got a lot of people hyped, but at the end of the day, they got to ship a great product. So that's still yet to be proven. Redfall, similarly, coming from a very talented studio, but it's an open world, cooperative, 4-player game, something that the Arcane Austin team are not familiar with. Can their, really immersive sim formula translate into a cooperative experience in an open world? There's a lot of doubt around that title and the fact that it, at least initially came across as maybe a Back for the Blood sort of co-op shooter cash-in, if that's a word I could use there. I don't think that's totally fair. We really don't know a lot about this game. When you read the Bethesda blogs on their website, I think you get a better understanding that this is a game that might have that 4-player co-op experience that you expect from titles like Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead, or Second Extinction, or things like that, shooters that have come and gone in the past, but is very much going to play into Arcane's strengths. Again, they're a fantastic studio, they're proven, but this is a little outside of their wheelhouse, so I think eyes will be on them to see if they really knock it out of the park. When we move into 2023, Avowed is a game that I think most people will assume is going to be fantastic, right? Like, Obsidian have rarely gone wrong in a lot of their releases. Obviously, this is a title set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, a franchise that hasn't strayed from its isometric roots. So a first-person RPG is something that they're really going to have to nail in this new sort of formula. So they have that experience through their work on the Outer Worlds and Fallout New Vegas and whatnot. I'm not concerned with Avowed. I think it is shaping up to be the most promising title, or one of the most promising titles of the Xbox Game Studios portfolio. When we look further into 2023, I think this is when it starts to get a bit, not shady, but there's a lot of doubt around whether these games can really nail it. Perfect Dark, I will contest, is probably one of them, right? Like, this is a studio made up of veterans, but a team of champions doesn't make up a champion team. Sure, these guys have a great deal of experience, but this is the first product that they are shipping together as a team. Perfect Dark is a storied franchise in the games industry. Obviously, the Nintendo 64 entry is beloved, the 360 entry in Zero less so. So this is somewhat of a damaged IP. This is a studio that needs to prove themselves, right? This is a team that was sort of heralded as a studio that would be built up to deliver the next quadruple A hit for Xbox, and that's pressure that they put on themselves through the job advertisements that have come and gone many years ago, but eyes will be on them to really deliver with Perfect Dark, and that's why I think this is a title that fingers crossed is in 2023, but I think is more likely for 2024. I think it's a game that Xbox can't afford to not stick the landing on. Similarly, Fable, coming from Playground Games, a very, very talented studio out of England, is one that you could say is sharing in that doubt. In that hesitation to really back it as a surefire hit, because this is a second studio being built within Playground itself. So we still have the Forza Horizon team working really hard on Forza Horizon 5 right now, and that's shaping up to be really fantastic. But this is a game completely outside of its wheelhouse, and a game that again is a bit damaged, a franchise that is a bit damaged. Obviously, we had Fable Legends coming from Lionhead that never really shipped. I think there was beta access that went along with it way back in the days of 2014 and 2015, and before that, Fable the Journey on the Xbox 360 Connect was decent, but never really hit in the same way that the original trilogy did. So it's been a long time since Fable was a popular, fantastic game within Xbox's portfolio. I think pressure is on for Playground Games to prove that they're not just a fantastic racing game studio, that they can do other stuff. We've seen the likes of Guerrilla Games really step outside of their own wheelhouse with Killzone and deliver with something like Horizon Zero Dawn. Can Playground do the same? I think they can, but they're unproven, to my point. Another game I think will land in 2023 is State of Decay 3, a game I'm personally very excited for. I love the State of Decay franchise. I spent many hours in State of Decay 2 with friends, building out our bases and scavenging for goods and just trying to survive in this fantastic zombie apocalypse simulation game. There really isn't anything like it on the market. I know people sort of just throw it away because it's another zombie game, but it really stands as a unique experience within this vast sort of swath of zombie-themed games. And I'm really excited to see what Undead Labs can do with the full financial backing of Microsoft. Give them time to really, deliver on this vision they have for a true zombie simulation. I think most people are hoping that this game looks the part as well. Obviously, it plays the part with all the simulation mechanics that have come and gone with the first game, and particularly with State of Decay 2. I think a lot of the animation work and particularly the visuals could do with a real sort of glam up as well. So I think, Undead Labs, they're taking their time. I don't expect this for another few years. But again, they're a studio that is yet to deliver a critically acclaimed title. People recognize it as a series or a franchise with promise. Can they deliver with the third iteration? I think they have to, and I certainly hope they do as well. And then there are a couple of studios within Microsoft's sort of portfolio that really need to sort of step up their game and showcase that they're able to create something really fantastic. Roundhouse from Bethesda, the guys made up formerly of Human Head Studios, working on Prey. We don't know what they're working on yet, so it's really on them to show what they're made of. Similarly, Compulsion is coming off the back of We Happy Few, a game that received middling review scores. Contrast before it was received okay. We do know that Matt Booty has stated in the past that he really believes in that team's vision, and they're working on a project that he's personally really excited for. So I hope they can stick the landing, but again, it's just another unproven studio within Microsoft's portfolio that has a title on the way that we're sort of yet to see, and so we can't sort of put any faith yet in that team to really deliver. So hopefully we see more that gives us confidence in the near future. And how could I forget about Halo Infinite from 343 Industries? There's a massive amount of pressure on this game to deliver off the back of, mixed feelings on Halo 5 and, relatively positive feelings on Halo 4, though that game, didn't really stick the landing when it came to the multiplayer, and it was kind of the inverse for Halo 5, right? Halo 5 had a fantastic multiplayer suite. Yeah, a lot of the traditional hardcore Halo fans weren't a fan of its fast movement and exactly how it played in comparison to the likes of Halo 2 and Halo 3, but it was a very popular multiplayer suite, something that I personally enjoyed as well. It was really the story in Halo 5 that let it down. I think it had some really strong level design ideas, and the AI was half decent, but 343 are really, need to prove that they can create a Halo experience that delivers for fans and newcomers alike. No small feat. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'm getting really positive vibes from everything that they've shown up until this point. I think the story and its subdued tone and the way that they're handling, emotion and the open world feel on this new Zeta Halo ring, I think is really exciting. As a long-time Halo fan, it is my favorite franchise. I'm really looking forward to this entry, and I think that what they've shown so far is looking really strong, particularly on the multiplayer. I cannot wait to hear when we will get insider flighting details for that one. With all of that said though, within Xbox Game Studios and Bethesda, there are a bunch of tried, true, proven studios that we know can deliver fantastic experiences. When I look down the list, you see the likes of Arcane, The Coalition, Double Fine, In Exile, who are working on a brand new RPG in Unreal Engine 5. I cannot wait to see what that game is. You have the likes of Playground, who are still delivering fantastic entries in the Forza Horizon sub-franchise. Ninja Theory as well. I think anyone would back that horse when it comes to their excitement for Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga as well. Tango Gameworks, Turn 10. So there is still a great deal of fantastic proven studios within Xbox and Bethesda's portfolio. There are just a few other teams who are yet to prove themselves. Their projects sound really exciting, like Perfect Dark, Fable and whatnot, but they're, just to my earlier point, unproven. We're going to have to wait and see, do they sink and swim when they release their first game? So I'm really excited for them. I hope you are too. I cannot wait to see actual gameplay for a lot of these games, hopefully next year, including Avowed and Starfield, State of Decay 3, maybe Fable, Indiana Jones in a couple of years as well. Like, I think there are some really exciting projects going on at Xbox across a variety of genres, which I'm really excited about. And to my earlier point on at the start of this video, all of them are going into Xbox Game Pass day one, which is absolutely nuts. I think once we get into 2022, 2023 and beyond, the value of Game Pass is really going to prove itself. And it will be at that point, if these games can really land with, a high quality experiences, that all the puzzle pieces for Xbox will have come together, and there won't be much left to really criticize of the brand, but I'm sure we'll find something. They still have a lot of work to do in the area of localization for a lot of other territories around the world. I will forever criticize the Xbox Live Gold, which we've heard recently is something they want to phase out once Xbox game subscriptions have reached a certain threshold, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one, though I think we're right to put pressure on them to sort of abolish that subscription, considering that nowhere else in the ecosystem is anyone paying for multiplayer. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you see my point? Do you agree with me, or do you disagree? Are there studios within Xbox's portfolio that are unproven? And on a whole, does Xbox still have a lot to prove itself? Anyway, if you did like this video, give it a like up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content. There'll be plenty more on the way. I hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, happy gaming.